right, hopefully this is recording. Hi, welcome to Storyboarding in Photoshop and Storyboard Pro by me, Eva Bretz. I think I'm just going to read off these slides basically, but I have a lot more experience in Photoshop. I'll just say that up front because Storyboard Pro is not very accessible. Will this go? How do I go forward? Okay, there we go. So yeah, like I said, Storyboard Pro is pretty hard to access. So I feel like people will get funneled into Photoshop. And that is, so that's what I've been using to do all of my storyboarding recently. I have heard that some studios prefer Photoshop, but that's not very likely, I feel like, in a lot of places. Yeah, I guess I'll just get right into it. So in Photoshop, you're going to want to use, oh my goodness. Okay, so I don't know how many people have used the timeline in Photoshop, but you can basically go into the workspace or the window tab and click on timeline, and that'll open up this bottom section here. And then you're just going to click on create frame animation, and it will give you it'll give you like basically these frames to work on in kind of like a click back and forward way. And then you're going to want to click on like the little hamburger thing, and you can get this menu where you get to see different commands. Got let's see. Oh yeah. I'm trying to think of the best way to like go about describing this process. I feel like just clicking through this presentation later will hopefully lay it out well enough, but Photoshop is only usable, in my opinion, if you have these actions downloaded, which I'll get into later. But basically, to set up this thing, you have your like little frames down there on the timeline. Don't draw on the first frame because it will fuck up everything. I don't know if I should be cursing on this actually. It will mess up everything though. Like if you make any changes to the first frame, it'll affect all the other frames. Just skip the first frame and just start working on the second frame. Oh yeah. And when you are starting your timeline, make sure that in this menu here that you have new layers visible in all frames, like unchecked. Just make sure there's no check mark next to it. It's like, yeah, right here. Make sure that doesn't have a check mark next to it, or else it will also mess up all your frames. These are all things that I've learned over time. Let's see. Oh yeah, importing actions. So this is, I think, the most crucial part of storyboarding in Photoshop. So I've used other people's action decks in past, but I actually made my own set from what I've found to be the most important. Don't worry, I'll show this QR code again, but it'll just take you to like a folder with this presentation, the action sets, and a recording of me using all of the actions that I made. So you can just use all of those to set up Photoshop, and hopefully it will help you understand what I'm probably explaining badly. Yeah, but I'll show that again if you didn't save it, or you could always reach out to me. I should put my email on here, but it's not on here. So to import actions, you're just going to want to go to the window tab and click on actions, like make sure that's checked. So it'll open up in your workspace. This here is the actions tab. It might also be here in this bar, but I moved mine here because it's way more convenient to have it like above your layers and really easily accessible, because you're going to be clicking this like every single new frame you work on. So you don't want it hidden, in my opinion, or taking up screen space. So I would recommend just like dragging it into here if it's not already in here. And to do so, once you have the actions tab here, you're going to click on this hamburger bar over here, and it will open up this whole thing. You're going to want to click load actions, and then you'll just go into your computer wherever you downloaded the actions that are in that Google Drive that I QR coded to. And you're just going to like click on it and import them, and it should set them up well. And then you just want to have button mode checked so that they're really easy to click and not like weirdly formatted. I feel like that part could come fairly intuitively though. Like it'll look like this here. up in the corner, and then you can just like click on each thing as you want it to happen. Let's see. Okay, so what do these do exactly? Hopefully these will, I mean, the thing I recommend above all else is to just try them out. I think me like describing what exactly they do in painstaking detail won't necessarily be the most helpful, and some of them are kind of straightforward, but I mean, new frame will just make a new frame. It'll basically just duplicate the exact same frame, and you can edit it as you want. New clear frame will take any layers that you've selected in your old frame and just like hide them. So you'll just have a blank frame, presumably. New frame with layer. This one will take any layers you've selected in the frame you're working on and set them to 20% so that you can draw over them really easily. And I wrote here, like, it's really good for posing things out. So if you have like a character in one shot, moving around and you want to reference your old drawing, I would click on this one, and then you'll have an old 20% layer to draw on top of. And then once you're done, like referencing the old layer, make sure you hide it. And then this one, yes, it will just make a new frame with a new layer and hide all of the layers that you have selected. Again, I would just recommend trying these out, and you will find out how these work in your work process. These ones will just set the layers that you have selected to 20% or 100% opacity. It's just really useful. I've found I use them all the time personally. This one won't do anything with the frames, but it'll take any layer that you've selected and set it to 20% and make a new layer on top of, which is good, in my opinion, the most for like cleaning up frames. Because I personally go in really rough with my sketches nowadays, and then I like want to go up and clean them if I want to show them to anyone. That one's pretty straightforward. Again, you're gonna want to hide the layer that you're referencing when you're done with that. Gray line, these are for background layers. So I know there's gonna be like a temptation to set your background layer to like 50% opacity, but you should make it a gray line instead, because then you won't have to set it to 50% opacity every single time you're making a new frame with the same background. So it'll just stay gray, and it'll be very easy, and it's the quickest workflow. And I've just seen a lot of people recommending that, and I agree. And I added another one, which is just duplicate layer. It just duplicates the layer, so you don't have to right click and hit duplicate layer, it just does it. That one was your suggestion. Miscellaneous tips for Photoshop that I have learned. So you're gonna like start your document probably as a 1920 by 1080, but I would recommend pulling up and pulling down like the size a little bit and having these black bars, because then in the top part you can put the shot number, and on the bottom you can write in dialogue, and it kind of looks professional. But that's just something that I have learned helps a lot. And also, so Photoshop obviously does not have a camera tool, which makes sense, but it's definitely aggravating when you're trying to use it for storyboarding. The best thing that I have come to find is that you can use this little like move tool to move the background, and it'll only affect like the one frame that you are working on in the moment. So I've used this to like just create panning backgrounds, because you can just keep drawing on the layer, on the background layer, and when you click back, it'll like look like it's panned across the background or whatever you're moving around, and it's pretty useful. If you're resizing though, unfortunately, you will have to duplicate the layer and resize that yourself, and it's really annoying. But Photoshop is more accessible, so I'll teach you how to make the best of it. Keyboard shortcuts. Oh yeah, so you can make your keyboard shortcuts whatever you want, but here's how you do it. So you're gonna go to edit, and then you go down and click on keyboard shortcuts, and it will pull up this screen. You're gonna click panel menus, like under shortcuts 4. You're gonna open up the timeline parentheses frames, and then you'll see the actions of next frame and previous frame. And I would recommend shortcutting those, because then you'll be able to switch to and from frames really easily. Like I use them constantly. The only thing is that I don't know if you're going to want to pick Command W and Q like I have, because I have accidentally quit other programs a million different times because that's what it's set to. And I just intuitively like, okay, I want to go back, and I'm in Safari and then all my tabs are gone. So you can pick whatever you want. I've just learned to, maybe I should change it. Anyway, you can set them wherever you want. I've found that works, but you might want to use something else. Set it to wherever you want. Exporting. Photoshop, you got to do like this specific export from what I've found. This will get you a big old image sequence, which is basically just however many JPEGs as there are frames. You're going to want to make like a folder in Finder or whatever you have ahead of time. You're going to want to label it like whatever your project name is, and you're going to want to have nothing else in that folder so that all of these JPEGs can get put in there. Let's see, set your frame rate to 0.5 seconds. I actually have not found if that is important, but that is what I was taught. You don't want your file name here to end in a number, or else it will mess everything up. Trust me on this. So maybe if you're going to do a number, because like I might like write timeline, the date, which is all numbers, and then underscore. Because if you have a number in front of it, it's going to add more numbers so that it can do the image sequence and have them all in order, and it will confuse your computer. But here are all the specific settings. Again, this presentation will be in the QR coded folder that you guys have, so you can reference these later. Yeah, I think that's all the advice about exporting. It's just a very specific export. You're going to want to like go to like, I think, file, export, render video, and it'll take you to this screen. Storyboard Pro method. All right. So Storyboard Pro is the industry standard, and I've used it before, but I remembered why again today, because it was kind of a wonderful experience after using Photoshop for a while, because it is very intuitive. I was almost like, do I need to teach people how to do this? But there are things that I think I didn't know until later that I would have preferred to know right off the bat. So I understand why it's used, but it is so inaccessible. As you can see, here are the absolute cheapest prices you can find. I tried to buy it, like have it for the month in preparation for this, but they gave me so much grief to like set up my account that I just gave up. Yeah, it's expensive. Oh yeah, there's a free trial. You should try it if you're interested. But it only lasts a month and you can only do it once, as I've discovered. But yes, as I learned, if you don't close it, they don't kick you out, but you can never turn off your computer. Well, you can't restart it. I did that with Toon Boom Harmony, not Storyboard, but Toon Boom just ran for like 6 months. That was really messed up. My computer hasn't forgiven me. And yeah, so if you want to try this out, there is a single computer I found in the basement of ProvWash that you can go and test this out on, or you could download the free trial, or you could finagle with it and maybe get it for $10 a month. But I'll give you a quick rundown of the workspace. Again, it's fairly intuitive, which I really appreciate. Here are all like your typical drawing tools. The brushes that they have are somewhat limited, but I think you can download like more brush packs from other places and expand your brush library, which is nice. I think Storyboard Pro is a vector-based software, which is nice because it means you can scale stuff as much as you want. It's also annoying because it kind of just is missing a certain je ne sais quoi that raster has. If you don't know the difference, raster's like pixels and vector is somehow using math to do perfectly smooth lines. But I think you can use this with bitmap raster layers as well. So you can customize that based on preference, which is lovely. Here are all the panel controls. Panels is what they call frames. Cut, copy, paste. I mean, I don't have to read through all these. You can just read them or not. Some things are hiding. But yeah, panel controls, playback controls, you know, like forward frame, back frame, play the animatic. Something that Storyboard Pro has over Photoshop is that you can play it really easily and control the duration of frames and panels, which is lovely. Onion skin, I don't know why this was so hard for me to find. It was like right there the whole time. But there's your onion skin controls, fairly intuitive. Layer controls, so for every frame you get the little layer sheet here. You can add as many as you want, delete them, all the good stuff. Oh, you can't see because my face is in the way. But here's where they're hiding all of your tool properties and the panel properties. So is it gonna let me? Oh my goodness. Okay, that worked, I guess. So if you click on panel in that thing I just had highlighted, you'll get this thing here. This thing. It can help you like note your dialogue, action notes, general notes about the frame. The most important thing you're gonna want, oh, and you can also record dialogue and notes to yourself right here. But the most important part of this is that right here you can control how long each frame lasts. It shows you frames and I think maybe seconds as well, which you'll need if you're trying to make this animatic style. If you go 2 over, you have like your normal brush controls, you know, size, opacity, whatnot. Same thing for eraser. Whatever tool you're using in the moment, it'll show like up in this panel and you can customize it however. Like if you were to scroll down, you'd see all these different presets. You got the colors, so that's all set there. Everything you'd expect a good program to have. Oh yeah. So the camera, I think, is the best thing aside from the playback animatic capabilities of Storyboard that make this just way better than Photoshop for storyboarding. And something I've definitely missed, but basically you can draw a background, you can put your character like doing whatever it's doing in that background, and then afterwards you can take the camera and you can keyframe it in different places on that background. And when you play it back, it has this really satisfying quality of like the camera following the character. And you can try and replicate it in Photoshop, but it works much better in Storyboard Pro. And I didn't know how to use this when I was doing other projects in it. So I'm just passing on the knowledge. Use the camera tool if you're using Storyboard Pro. I feel like that's like one of the biggest perks of using it. Oh yeah, in conclusion, just use sticky notes because software is too expensive. Just kidding. Yeah, I think Storyboard Pro, you can understand why it is the industry standard. It just, you can tell that a lot of people have used it and added what they've seen lacking, and it just runs fairly well. But Photoshop can definitely work. I've been using it for everything lately because we have it in our student, accounts and whatnot. And I would definitely recommend getting those actions on it if you're planning to use Photoshop. So here's the folder. It's got the presentation if you want to click through and like see any of the presets that I've shown earlier. And yeah, it's got the actions, which you can download to your computer if you have Photoshop on your computer. And it has a little video where I use all the actions to demonstrate what they're for. But again, I genuinely would just recommend trying out the actions on your own and finding out what works best for you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Okay.
So like you're at the beginning in Photoshop, like do you do anything to the timeline first, or like does it just like go like that?
Oh yeah, the timeline. So when you open Photoshop, it probably won't show the timeline, but you just click on Window, which is left of Help, and you click on Timeline, and it'll pull up this bar here and add it to your workspace, and then you just click Frame Animation. It might say like Create Video Animation, and you don't want that. Create Frame Animation, and then it'll create a frame, a single frame, which I don't know if you're here for the beginning, but don't draw on the first frame.
Because it's just like the bottom there.
It's not like a bottom layer. I have no idea what's going on with the first frame, but if you do anything on the first frame, it will happen to every single frame. Yeah. Oh, that was the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, now I have here, make sure it's unchecked or else you'll regret it.
And so like, how do you have like multiple layers in this like, is that possible?
Yeah, you can have as many layers as you want on. So here's your like layers as usual. And what you do is you can create like one layer per frame, but you can just have in every single frame whatever combination of layers you want hidden or unhidden that you want. So
In the timeline, when you make a new
actually,
frame in the timeline.
I know what I can do.
Oh, it's the way.
Is this it? Yeah, okay, great. Here's my beautiful timeline. So I'll just delete all of these. This is what you'll start with once you create your frame. When you start, you have layer one and you have frame one.
Okay.
And then from here, oh, see, this is what you get if you don't have it clicked to button mode. So what you're going to want to do is not use that. You're going to want to say probably new frame, and you're going to want to start in the second frame. So you're going to draw like something. I don't have my tablet with me, so actually wait. Well, I also don't think it's important that they look good.
Oh, you did perfect smiley face.
I know. This is what all of my RISD training has culminated in. Okay,
Raw smell.
thank you. Okay, what was your question? Oh, right, I remember. Okay, so let's say I want to make a new frame with layer and I want to reference this. So now you have, so these are, oh yeah, so these are like technically have the same layers like on for each of them. If you see here, oh, never mind. So this one just has layer one turned on, like unhidden. And this one has layer 1 and 2 on. So if I draw something, oh, that's the wrong layer. So this one has layer 1 on at 100% opacity. This one has layer 1 and 2, and layer 1 is at 20% opacity. And after I'm done referencing this beautiful layer 1 frame, I'll probably hide it. So now they have different layers turned on, and I can go between them. But I could also have like, here, put that down there, make sure it's turned on for both. I could have like a background. Let's make a house. And I'm gonna make that gray line. I'm just showing all of the wonderful capabilities of this. And it's turned, so now I have layer 3, which is at the bottom, turned on for both of these layers, but they have different layers turned on top of them to make this wonderful animation with background. And any change I make to this bottom layer, actually, I think I already know. Any change I make to this bottom layer, layer 3, I make like a rainbow. It will affect both frames, which is really nice because it means you don't have to redraw anything or copy paste anything. Yeah, for these backgrounds.
So when you made the second frame and it automatically made layer 1 at 20%, did it do that or did you do it?
It did it automatically because I clicked this button, but there are other buttons you can press. Like if I do new frame, it's just going to make the exact same frame with the exact same layers highlighted. But let's say I do that by accident, and then I think to myself that I actually did want the old layer set to 20% and a new layer made, then you can click on this and it will not make a new frame, but it will set the old layer to, I clicked 20% with new layer. And so like, and then I could make that. Yeah, try the buttons for yourself. Again, they are, I could pull up the QR code again for anyone who wants them, but anyone can just ask me for the QR code and I will. Maybe if you're nice to me. Yeah, these are, I mean, yeah, I've tested out actions for a while and I have felt some actions really, really missing. So I made those ones and made this new set that I think works really well, presumably.
Possible to color, make your previous frame a different color?
Previous,
Like onions? Yeah, like onions can be color.
not with this action set. You could actually make your own actions as well. I could show you how to do that if you want, because I realized that actually I wish that I had known how to make my own actions because I would have changed a lot of shit way earlier. So if you want to make your own action, first you're going to uncheck button mode. So you're going to get this nasty mess, but it's pretty intuitive after this. So you're just going to want to, so, oh my God. Okay. So if you want to make your action, so you're just saying you want a different color, you want like different color and opacity.
So I want it so that when you make a new layer, it makes a new empty layer and you can see the previous layer at 20% opacity, red color.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. So yeah, you'd click new, and then we can call this new frame with layer color. Let's just say that. So now it's recording my actions. So what I would do is I would say, make a new layer, make a new frame. I would set this old layer to be 20%. And I would, I guess, crumbs, I'm not sure how I would actually, because I usually go to Command U and realize, well, maybe. Oh, wait, I know what I could do. This might be messed up. Image hue? Does that work? I mean, because I was just gonna make a clipping mask and merge it. No, but watch, because then afterwards, okay, let's say I make a clipping mask. Let's just see if this works, and then we can all think out a better method if it doesn't. And then I merge this down, and then we stop recording. Let's see if it works. Except it also turns your old frame red as well. Forever.
What if what if you made it so that it duplicates your previous frame sets?
This is messed up. This is what you want.
Yeah, I just want.
Well, let's see if that at least works. I'm curious now. Oh, she's red now. I forgot about that. Yeah, he's going crazy. He's going stupid. Let's turn this back into a button. Okay. That did not. Oh, I had the wrong thing selected. Girl. Oh. Let's try. Yeah, I know that. Probably. That didn't work. Did that not work? I'm really confused now.
Yeah. So I'm saying.
Well, that didn't work, but oh wait. No.
Oh.
I'm really
So, like,
confused
since
now.
This action has like 4 steps, 5 steps, you have to undo every single one. Yeah.
No, I won't delete all this. You know what?
So like if you do the new frame with layer, and then you change your onions, then you have.
Yeah.
To put in the layer and. That sounds like.
It's not. It's fine.
So is the button broken?
The button didn't work.
I think you can do it with, like, go up to the top, first image,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Oh, like auto color or adjustments?
adjustments, saturation.
No, see, that doesn't work because it doesn't have any saturation to add. That's what I was saying. Because I used that to do the like gray line one. I don't know. This is not the time to just be figuring out what these do. It doesn't even do anything. I think it just does.
You have a question? No?
Don't be calling people out.
Sorry.
If you had any questions about whether or not you want to go into FAV or illustration though. Like we were talking about that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of us are seniors here.
Yeah.
Should I stop sharing? I'm gonna stop recording before we trash JK. No, okay, genuinely. No, listen, I genuinely do love FAV. I've never had any complaints personally. I know. How do I do that?
The stop button and you have their own.